Hey guys, so I just finished this interview with Steve Weigel. A few things that stick out to me about him. I've never seen anybody so connected to their heart and love for people, and that heart and love bleed into their brand and the community that they're trying to build. Steve does an incredible job with that. So in this talk, we talk about how to build a brand, how to build a community, his story on the Ivy brand, as well as Honest Media and what his involvement there. Some really cool things he's coming out with in 2019, and just to encourage. I think you're going to be encouraged to be yourself, because that's the best thing you can offer the world.
Well, welcome to another episode of Millennials in Ministry. I'm your host, Erin V. Lashley. Millennials in Ministry is a podcast designed for millennials who want to make an impact in their community, and therefore I have invited a special guest, Steve Weigel, on the show today. He is the founder of the Ivy brand and also the owner of Honest Media, and we're going to get into all that stuff because honestly, Steve, I feel like there's so much that I can learn from you. But before we get into that, I just want to say welcome to the show and thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me a little bit about you, your background, where you're from, and how you got into making boards.
Yeah, I grew up in Princeton, Minnesota, which is like about an hour north of Minneapolis, where I live now.
Okay.
And my dad was a carpenter, so I grew up just working with my hands, working with wood, building. I always loved that type of stuff.
Okay.
So I grew up in like small town Princeton. I was homeschooled actually.
Really? I was too.
Were you really?
Yes, my whole life. I'm 29, so I was homeschooled
Okay.
from like first grade through high school.
I was homeschooled from third grade through high school, which all my siblings went to school once they got into like ninth grade, like high school. And I
Really?
just got so used to like the freedom of being homeschooled. I just stayed homeschooled all the way through.
Right? That's good.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So grew up working with my dad, who's a carpenter and a pastor, if that
Okay.
sounds familiar.
Yeah,
And
sounds familiar to me too.
so I just grew up like always working that way. And I actually built a board at the end of 2000, or at the beginning of 2014, which was like right around the time a band that I was in was ending. And so I'd been in this
Okay.
band for 8 years. I'd always wanted to like start something on my own after the band. And it was finally time. And I actually wasn't even thinking that way. I wasn't necessarily like, oh, this is going to turn into something. I'm going to start a longboard company and this is going to happen. It was really just like,
Yeah.
I was just getting out of the band. I just kind of like, the world was just stretched out before me. I was like, I could do this, you know? So I built a board and I gave it to a friend and I posted a picture online and I just started getting orders. And within a week, I had like 20 orders.
Wow.
And the simplest way I can put it is people just started ordering boards and they haven't stopped. So I just keep building them.
Yeah, that's really cool. So why do you call it Ivy? What's the story behind the name?
Yeah, so one of the first boards I built was for a woman that I know named Ivy. And so I built her a board, and actually a couple weeks after that, I was down in Florida visiting, and she happens to live in Florida. So I brought the board down, I delivered it in person, and her niece was there. She's like, you should call your company Ivy. And I was like, oh, maybe that's kind of cool. And then I like started
Yeah.
playing with different font ideas, and I was like, that could be really sweet. And then I looked up the
Yeah.
meaning. And the meaning is it's like an evergreen plant that represents affection, fidelity, connection.
Yeah.
And it just like seemed to fit like everything I wanted. The idea of Ivy didn't come directly from Ivy. That came from like what I always wanted in my life, is just to connect with people, to
Yeah.
love people, to encourage people. And so I was kind of like living out the mission of Ivy before Ivy even started. And
That's
so
really cool.
when I looked up the name and it all aligned like that, I was just like, yeah, that's the name. That seems to
Yeah.
fit. So yeah.
Yeah. I was just going to ask, like, if you could explain the heartbeat behind the brand of Ivy, because I've been following you for a few months. Actually, came across you because of Zach Wendell, because I
Oh
interviewed
yeah.
him several months back.
Yeah.
And he told me the other day that you're a really good friend of his. I'm like, that's so
Yeah.
cool. Like, of course you guys would be connected because you're
Oh
both like
yeah.
amazing, you know?
Exactly.
But I would love to know just about the Ivy brand, like the heartbeat behind it and why you developed such a unique brand. Because following you, I knew you as Ivy Longboards first, and then
Hmm.
over time, I think you're even doing a live later on explaining why you've now branched out into longboards, skateboards, and adventures. And can you just kind of
Yeah.
explain that a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, so like longboards is an interesting thing because I'm not even like a huge skater myself. I'm a
Mm.
maker. And
Yeah.
at the
Huh.
time, what I was making was longboards. So, and then my mission and my heart is always to just love and encourage and inspire and motivate people. So longboards just became the catalyst to that,
Mm.
whereas before the band was the catalyst to reach people. And so like, I'm not a massive skater. I'm a maker.
Yeah.
And longboards just
That's cool.
became the catalyst. And so, in everything we do, we're just looking for ways to build community, to shape a culture of belonging, to bring people together, to create amazing experiences. Me, anyone that works with Ivy, my business partner, we're all just kind of like wildcats, like adventurers. And so we
Yeah.
want to adventure, we want to build community. And so we just launched Ivy Adventures as well. And in the first of the year, and we're going to be taking people on incredible adventures that build community, that create
Mhm.
stories that will last a lifetime. So
Yeah.
yeah, so the heartbeat of Ivy is really just to love and encourage and inspire people. And right now, the avenue we're doing that through is longboards, skateboards, adventures, and anything that's community building. Anything
Yeah.
that can give us an opportunity or a platform to kind of like pour into people.
Yeah, that's really cool. And, for those that are watching that want to build a brand as you are currently, and I feel like you're doing a phenomenal job, truthfully.
Thank
I
you
spent a
so
lot of time
much.
on Instagram and looking at people, and you're one of the best that I've seen for sure.
Thank you. That
But
means so much.
you're so welcome. I
Yeah.
really mean that.
Uh,
What advice would you give to other people out there that want to build a brand like you have?
Yeah, I always say, and this is like pretty like high, like just like out there, but I always say like don't take yourself out of the brand, because there's so many brands out there that can sell products really well and that
Yeah.
can like make a lot of money and that can do all this. And I think if you just stay core to who you are, like I
Mhm.
actually think that people are more driven by impact than they are money. But
Yeah.
the like common interest in like what we all need. I mean, we all need money, right? We need money to live, we need money to eat,
Mhm.
we need money to pay the bills. But I think if you can like stay core to who you are and really just like get your values in line and put that into the brand, you will be
Mhm.
more motivated to stick with it. I mean, you know, millennials are known to be flaky, and I'm guilty of that too. But you see
Sure.
people all the time who start something and a month later they quit. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so like I
Right.
actually think that's because they don't have like their why in place. And if you
Yeah.
can have like your why in place, you know why you're doing something, like you'll stick with it. So usually when you start a brand, it's for the purpose of like making money. And yes,
Hmm.
I'm not against money. I want to make money. That's great. But I think
Right.
before I want to do that, like I want to impact people. Like I know my why. And if I
Mhm.
didn't, like I've literally like bled for this brand. Like I've
Mhm.
literally like sacrificed
Um,
so much. And if I didn't have my why in place, I wouldn't continue to do it. And so I would say don't take yourself out of the brand. Like the most unique thing you have access to is yourself. And that's
mhm.
true for me, that's true for you, that's true for anyone watching. The most
Yeah.
unique thing. So don't take like your heart and your like character out of the brand. And so yeah, there's times I'll like get on my Instagram and I'll just be like just grossly vulnerable, and I'm like, what am I
Mhm.
doing? Like this isn't my personal Instagram, like this is a brand. Why?
Yeah.
But I every time I do that, there's a response. You know what I mean? And so
Yep.
I would just say don't take yourself out of the brand. Like don't be scared to like put your character, your heart, your
Yeah.
vision, the language you even use like into the brand, because that's important and that's what's gonna like set you apart from like everyone else. Like
That's great.
honestly, like there are so many longboard companies out there like people could buy a product from, and whenever people ask me like what's so great about your boards, I go
Mhm.
nothing. It's about the community. And it totally
Hmm.
takes the pressure off me to try and be like the best, because I'm not
Right.
trying to be the
Right.
best. Like
Yeah.
um I'm trying to create a community. I'm trying to
Mm.
like build people up. I'm trying to like take any platform I have and just like make sure that people are at the forefront of everything I do. And
Yeah.
like I think sometimes people disconnect themselves from that like aspect of life and business. But like
Hmm.
if people are really like the single most important reason we're here, then why wouldn't we put that idea into every aspect of our life, including business?
Totally.
And so
Totally.
yeah, don't take
That's
yourself
really
out of the
good.
brand, and know your why, I guess.
That's really good. What are some keys to you building a great community of people? Because I feel like, you know, there's Instagram, there's Facebook, there's Snapchat, there's all these different platforms on which different communities exist.
Hmm.
But like with you building a brand, there's a certain type of people that you're trying to bring together, you know, with the heart of the brand that you have. But what do you feel like are good keys to building community besides just like you said, not just great longboards, but it's about the community?
Yeah, I guess that goes back to like the last like bit I said is like, um, I found that like you really do attract what you're putting out there. And
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
if I was just selling longboards, I would attract a bunch of skaters, and that's great and all that. There's a ton of people who love and support Ivy but don't even skate. And
Hmm.
so I guess the answer to the question would kind of be the same, where the trick to like building a community of like passionate, like-minded people is taking what you're passionate about and like voicing it, communicating it.
Yeah.
I always say like communication is like the hardest aspect of life, whether it's in a marriage or a relationship or a
Yeah.
business. Like communication is so important. So you can never over communicate when it comes to a brand. And so
Okay.
if I just said once, like, yeah, I'm about community, and then, but all I was doing was just selling boards, selling boards, selling boards, like hustling, grinding, selling boards, people would be like, no. But if I was constantly about like, it's about people, it's about
Yeah.
community, it's about shaping a culture of belonging, then
Hmm.
people are going, oh, this is different. And I'm actually
Yeah.
bringing people around who don't even skate, but they just love the mission and the heart and the vision of the brand. And so,
That's
yeah,
really
I
cool.
think the trick is just taking your heart, putting it into the brand, being vulnerable with your audience, um,
Yeah.
and um, yeah, and then outside of, you know, just the platforms is putting on events and things that can allow people to just like
That's cool.
meet in person and be face to face. And I would say I don't want to just connect people to myself. I want to connect people to each other. Like
Yeah.
the best thing I can do is hear people be like, I met so many people at your events that I'm going to be friends with
That's so cool.
forever, you know? And
Yeah.
so I always just like looking to like connect people to each other, not just myself or whatever.
Steve, that's really cool. And honestly, like I think it was on the Ivy Longboards feed that you recently did one of those vulnerable videos that
Yeah.
you were encouraging the community to do something. And I saw that video and I was like, man, this typically wouldn't belong in like a longboards feed, but it works so well and I love it so much
Mm,
because it was just like you said, it was about the people and you do
yeah.
that really well. Like I'm really paying attention to what you're doing because I admire what you're doing. I feel like you're doing a really great job at it, but I see your heart in everything you do and it's not
Thank
just
you.
what you're doing, but your heart is really coming out. And
Thanks.
so hats off to you for that. Along with the Ivy brand, you also are the owner of Honest Media. Quick story
Mm,
about Honest Media. I came across Honest Media through Instagram. I don't know, I was scrolling through something. And then I found out that you were also the owner of it. I'm like, are you serious right now? This guy is like, he's amazing. You know, he's so talented.
thank you.
So, what's the story behind Honest Media? How did you start that? What do you do with that part of your life?
Yeah, so I'm not the main founder of Honest Media. I'm one of three founders. Um,
Okay. Okay.
and so Jeremy Bardwell was like it was like his vision, his like kind of like idea, all that. And then we just met like not just over a year ago, not long
Really?
before the business started. And so we just met, and he had this kind of like heart and vision and like idea for this thing for a long time. Um, and then kind of with meeting me and just kind of like a couple other things aligning, it was just like this
Yeah.
is the time to go. um,
Yeah.
so it's really cool because through Honest Media i really get to replicate I really get to replicate what I'm doing with Ivy through other brands. So
Hmm.
I don't think that like I think that the way that Ivy's operating, just kind of being about people, for people, the bottom line, making money, all that's great, but like really like making sure that like what's best for business is best for people. And so making sure that
Yeah.
you're running your business in like a ethical, good way. I really get to like replicate the ideas and the values of Ivy into other brands.
That's
Um,
cool.
and so, yeah, so at Honest Media, I'm the brand strategy developer and manager. And so I get to
That's
work
cool.
with a bunch of brands and just kind of like help them find their language, their vision, their like their values,
Yeah.
their mission, everything. It's really fun. Like it's a really fun thing that I get to do as a job, which is just so
Yeah.
wild. And so, yeah,
That's really
honest media has just been a fairly new like thing in my life, but it's been, and I'm
cool.
learning a ton because I never like had agency experience before, but I've had a lot of experience with people, with building a brand, with a community, all that. And so honest media, more than just a creative agency, I would see it as like a values-based movement. Like we're really, really doing things very intentionally to not just be another marketing media agency. We're doing things very intentionally to like build communities, to like give back to like young communicators, young storytellers. We're building a brand right now, actually, that I'm directing called Godspeed the Honest. And it basically, the whole idea behind it is our culture is controlled by the media. And if that's true, then Godspeed the Honest. And so it's just this idea that like we're like commissioning and encouraging young storytellers, young communicators to like rise up, grab hold of the channels and run with them. Because if marketing media is really controlling our culture, then like let's get the right people in there. Let's like rise up. Let's like communicate with integrity, with honesty.
So good.
Yeah, it's really fun. So that's
awesome, Zach. Man, that's amazing. So, in your opinion, what are you most looking forward to in 2019? What's the most exciting thing going on for you?
I think just more of what happened in 2018.
Yeah.
That sounds so vague, but I think like there's just a lot of good movement in 2018 for Ivy, for Honest, my life personally. A lot of like questions that I had for like the past maybe decade of my life just really seem to be answered. And so, yeah, for a long time, it's just like, man, is this going to ever work out? Where's it going to go? Like, why wasn't I a band for 8 years that never really went where I wanted it to go? In between that, I lived over in Thailand for 9 months volunteering with an organization. I had kind of done a lot of different stuff. And last year, a lot of stuff just seemed to really start to make sense. And so that was really cool. I'm traveling quite a bit. In 2019, we actually just launched Ivy Adventures. And so it's just another way to interact with a brand. So now rather than just like selling longboards, we're creating these amazing experiences to take people on adventures. And through that obviously comes like incredible community conversations, just wildness, just complete wildness and hilarity and fun. So just with Ivy, we're doing a trip to Colorado, a trip to Hawaii, a trip on the North Shore of Minnesota here, and then another trip to the Caribbean sailing. And that's just like with Ivy. And then I'm going to Kenya in like next week or something.
Really?
No. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's literally next week I'm going to Kenya.
Wow.
There's just a lot going on. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited for just the ride. Just discover more about, I think like one thing I never do is kind of put a cap on. So I never just go, Ivy's a longboard company and that's it. I just go, Ivy's a brand, it's a lifestyle brand. Whatever that turns into is great. And so that's how Ivy Adventures was born,
That's cool.
And I think that there's a few other surprises in store. I'm always looking for like, what's that thing that could really build this community, that could really like make impact. So I think there's a few other surprises in 2019 that I'm excited for as well. So
that's really cool. I'm excited for the adventures. Honestly, I put in my vacations already for 2019, but 2020, I really am going to make an effort to come and check out the adventures. It looks really cool. I watched the video, I looked into it, and sounds like something that would be so fun. So I really am looking forward to experiencing that someday.
Yeah, we really want the adventures to be something that more than just fun. It's like eye-opening. It's like perspective. I just believe that when you surround yourself by like a good group of people for like any extended amount of time, like just magic happens. Like we did a sailing trip in the Caribbean in November, and one of the girls came home from that trip and quit her job, which is something she wanted to do for like 3 years. And so like just seeing that and seeing, I was the only one on the trip that knew everyone. So seeing all these people that I knew, just like connecting, having amazing conversations and building relationships that would I know some of those relationships will last like a lifetime. I'm just like,
Yeah,
oh, this is it. Like,
that's
this is so
amazing.
it. So yeah, Ivy Adventures is going to be a really, really fun and exciting part of the brand as we roll. So
Steve, that's really cool, and I'm really excited for you and everything that you're doing. Um,
thank you.
I'm really inspired. Like you really inspire me with what you're doing. Truthfully, I keep saying the same thing, but I really feel it. Like this, what you're doing is more of what I want to do, you know? And so thank you for your example with that. But last question I want to ask you, Steve, is just there's millennials watching this. This was made for millennials that want to make an impact in their community, whatever that impact is.
Mhm.
What advice would you give to other millennials watching that just want to make a greater impact in 2019?
Yeah, I would say just say yes. Like the best opportunities are one in front of you, and obviously use your brain. That's not
Yeah,
you just take any opportunity. But I think like
sure.
so often we're all waiting for the perfect opportunity, and we think it needs to look a certain way. So as we're sitting here waiting for the perfect opportunity, all these opportunities are just passing us, and we're just like,
Yeah.
it doesn't look like how we imagined. And so like I
Mhm.
think we need to know like the area we want to make impact. So I want to make impact through loving, encouraging, inspiring people. And
Yeah.
if I would have like thought the only way I could do that was through playing music, I would have totally missed Ivy. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So like I
Yeah.
never want to like put in a box the way I can make impact. I just want to know
Mhm.
how I want to do it, and then or I just want to know what I want to do, which is impact people. And then the way I do that, I just want to be totally open-handed. So I would say just say yes. I mean, the most incredible opportunities that ever happened in my life were just for me simply saying yes. They weren't because I was
Yeah.
like, had planned my life out so well, and I'm not a planner. I very much just like roll. I mean, I moved to
Yeah.
Thailand on a total whim, and so
Wow.
I think that, yeah, I think that the best opportunities are one in front of you. So just start saying yes more, and be uncomfortable. Like
Yeah.
if you wanna live a fun and interesting life, like put yourself in a scary, uncomfortable situation,
Yes.
and through that you'll gain perspective, you'll gain knowledge, you'll gain so much. And so, yeah, I would just say just start saying yes more.
That's
That
good.
yeah, and you'll find yourself in some really incredible places that you never imagined. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's awesome, Steve. Well, thank you so much for being with us on today's
yeah,
episode. It really was a privilege to be able to talk with you, chat with you, and find out more about what you're doing.
yeah,
And full support of you, what you do. I know you have it live coming up later tonight. I'll be watching that
yeah.
and just cheering you on for sure and what you're doing. And God bless you with all of your efforts. And I know 2019 will be a great year for you. So thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you. You're amazing. Like I fully support what you're doing too. Like just taking the time to like connect with people is so cool. And you're so sweet. And yeah, it's awesome what you're doing. I support support everything you're doing too. So you're amazing.
Thank you, Steve.
Cool.
Appreciate it. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. We'll talk to you later.
See ya.
Bye-bye.